All right, thank you, guys. Yeah, I think as you can tell, it's all about collaboration, which is why Gerhard and I are up here together. I'm going to speak about the repurpose side of things, which is a collection of feedstock, and Gerhard will take over from the conversion perspective. So let me just give you a short overview about repurpose. Founded just over 8 years ago. The first 3 months was all about test and measure. It was about understanding, how many kilometers we traveled versus how many kgs of plastic we brought back. And in that 3 months, the results were shocking. Our collection cost was sitting at 5 Rand a kg, and our sales price was at 3 Rand 80 a kg, which didn't make any business sense to me at that time. So we sat and strategized and kind of put a plan together of how can we actually get the reverse logistics right. And I think if you think about a franchise, that came to my head. It's a franchise model where we could roll out buyback centers in different locations, rural, semi-rural, to accumulate volumes of plastic so that we can just go with the truck and do one collection and come back. And that's how we kind of got the ball rolling at the beginning. It was about starting, forming buyback centers, and then just rolling them out. We paid a lot of school fees in the first year, which as an entrepreneur, I wanted to get Repurpose's name out there and have more than the KFC franchises, and I thought we'll put a repurpose in Komashu, we'll put a repurpose in Belito, and we'll do that, and it just was a nightmare because we realized we couldn't manage the stock, we couldn't manage the cash flow on a day-to-day basis because each buyback center had to pay waste pickers, and if we had to do petty cash, it was just a nightmare to manage. So back to the drawing board, and we realized and we strategized again and said the buyback centers will be for the waste champions and the entrepreneurs in the townships. They will own it, they will operate it, we will just empower and provide the reverse logistics. And that's how it is right up until now. We don't own the buyback centers. Every buyback center that we form or empower is owned by a waste champion in the rural area, or wherever they're located, and that's how we've got it started. So collecting the waste and getting it, collected the most economical manner was great, but another critical point was to ensure that we had offtake of all of the waste that we collected. So that's when I started to engage with a few converters and recyclers at that time, to understand, okay, what volumes do you need, what are the prices, and then we started to have discussions like quality control, bale weights, separation, transporting from KZN. So all of that we needed to take in consideration, but I think we worked it through and eventually got the ball rolling. And as you could see, we kind of strategized the vision for the business, which was to be an innovative leader in reverse logistics, and that's what collection is all about. It's about getting it from the source to conversion and production at the most viable, economical manner possible. In 2018, we created 30 direct jobs and supported in 2020 just over 35 buyback centers with 1,200 waste pickers. And that was quite a good milestone for us because we had a really nice get-together with the teams and the buyback centers, and we also visited one or two of our converters and recyclers to get the waste champions to understand what part they play in the entire value chain. And then we got 2020, COVID, which was a big challenge for almost every business in this room. But that was the turning point for Repurpose. So 2020 was the year we went from the red to the black. We went from making a loss to making a profit. And that was purely based on the demand for plastic during COVID. We had huge demand for LDPE, which was for the, unfortunately to say, body bags, plus aprons for the hospital. So the demand was just, we worked 24/7 in 2020. So that was quite a big year. It was a challenging year because we needed to adapt to the situations that were happening. We also had to slow down our approach in the townships and rural and exposure with our staff, but we saw it through. The planet and profit kind of tied in together, and with EPR in effect, we could track exactly where we collected the plastic, what age group of waste pickers, and we also tracked the conversion rate of that plastic collected. 2022, we won the SAB Foundation Award as a social innovation award for the SAB Foundation. And 2023, which was last year, we collected 5,000 tons of plastic in 1 year, which was quite a big achievement for us. And this year is going to be another incredible year based on where we're at the moment. Yeah. So just a little bit about track record. So in terms of the gender equity on our waste pickers, we've done a bit of analysis, and a lot, as you can see, 43% of the collectors are women. And they range from young to old, but we've got a lot of go-go's who are like really old, still putting in all of their effort and doing a lot of the collection. And when I discuss the SDG, I'll also mention what these women actually do with the income they earn. In terms of job creation, upskilling, over 600 jobs we've created, and direct and indirect, and SDGs, which at the moment we've got 6 up there, but there's also indirect SDGs that we're supporting. And I'm not going to talk about all, but the first one, social development goal number 1, which is end hunger. I think with waste pickers being able to collect and be able to sell to buyback centers, which eventually end up at our MRFs and eventually ending up for conversion, they have income to purchase food on a daily basis. There's also promoting economic growth, which is SDG number 8, based on the amount of value that's been put into the economy through waste collection. And a lot of, I think every speaker mentioned separation at source, and where these waste pickers, what they have to do, go through bins every week and then work like hectically in landfill. So promoting economic growth and then reducing inequalities, which is number 10. So one thing we have done right at the beginning as Repurpose is to ensure that every single waste picker is treated fairly and paid the right rate. When I did the studies many years ago, we found that a lot of recyclers were buying from waste pickers at a very, very low rate, and there was a lot of exploitation. So we've changed that. Yes, the margins are low, but we're able to motivate the waste picker to bend for a plastic bottle as opposed to chase the can or cardboard and so on. So that helped quite a lot. And then for the last 3 years, we did 10,000 tons of plastic from 21 to 23, which was also for us was a big milestone. And again, this year would be a lot more than that. Just to speak a little bit about our strengths, we've got 4 MRFs. Every MRF is equipped with a state-of-the-art baling system. It's got a conveyor which does the separation. We've got manual separation as well as the conveyors that do a lot for us. And the idea with the baling and conveyor systems was to ensure that we can get a bale weight of nothing under 400 kgs. So we've built, a lot of these machines were built to spec. we've had to make a few adjustments to make sure that the bale weights were not below 400 kgs, and that was done specifically to ensure that from the MRF to the converter, we had the transport cost as low as possible. The second strength is our logistics fleet. Over the years, we've continued to add onto the logistics fleet, and as I mentioned right at the beginning, it's all about reverse logistics. A lot of the buyback centers are in rural. They don't have transport to drop off their products, so we provide a collection service for 80% of our suppliers. And we've got a fleet that can handle that. Plus, we got a fleet that can also transport the baled products from the MRFs to the converters. And the third kind of strength, which is a critical and the key to our business, is our team. And I think as a leader, we are nothing without the team, and these are the guys that work behind the scenes and make these things happen. We've got really good project managers that go out and educate buyback centers. We also do quality control. We're very big on health and safety on the MRFs. We need to make sure that trucks coming in and out, bale weights, quality control, all of that's done, and the team's really equipped to do that. A lot of guys spoke about, I think today there was a lot of discussion around schools programs. I also want to share a program that we started. It's called School Pet, as in school PET. So the idea around School Pet was to basically, one, educate kids, but two, ensure that we can get this separation at source. Because we understand municipality has not driven this enough to make it happen, and we've got to take it onto our own hands, and the only way we can get plastic from households is via the schools program. So we've launched School Pet, which is doing really well at the moment. And I need to talk a little bit about this fish, because it was something that we had to test and measure again in the program. When we signed up a few schools, it was motivating the kids to bring their plastic from home. They did it for the first week, and then after that it went quiet, and then how do we motivate these kids? How do we get them to constantly remember they need to bring these plastics to school? And it was months of just brainstorming, and eventually we thought, there needs to be an awareness, there needs to be visibility. So we designed this in our MRF in Pinetown. We had two of our staff, actually, we just did the design, and they just put this entire thing together. We bought metal, we bought all of this, and literally we've got a video of how it was built from just metal bars to that. And we launched that at the school last month, and currently it holds approximately 400 kgs of plastic. It's influencing separation at source. The kids are now saying to their moms and dads at home, please keep all of this plastic, I need to go and feed the fish. So the idea here is that we want to roll out, this is only one that we've done, and we've just launched. We want to roll out 50. We want to do 2 collections per school per month, and we want to get to 50 tons a month of just school collections, and it can be done. We've tried it at 5 schools, and we know it can be done. So separation at source can happen. So yeah, I think end there. I'm going to end here. So the repurposed Alpla collaboration, and Gerhard will talk a bit about it more, is this journey started a few years ago, where we got together, and I think this conference is perfect about collaboration and partnership. And we spoke about the need of opening up a facility in KZN and what the demand would be, what's in the market. Let's analyze the bale quality. Let's understand what stock is available. And that's how we got the conversation started. And the idea now is that Repurpose focuses on the collection, the separation, the baling, and the delivery of the bales. And Alpla does what Alpla does best, which is the recycling conversion side of things. And our one vision as a partnership is every bottle sold in KZN to find its way back to the Alpla recycling facility in Belito. And I want to thank you for that, and Gerhard will continue with the rest. Thank you.
I think, Bevlen, just say, because the rest of the final, I think the interesting part is really why we're here together. When Michael said earlier about natural monopolies, and I believe that the industry that we're in, especially when we think about the infeed side, is that kind of natural monopoly. Because when you think about all those people with their trolleys in Gauteng running around, and then starting early in the morning when it's still dark, and collecting throughout the day, and after a day's work, going to their buyback center to bring in what they have done during the day, and to hopefully get enough money to make a living, to basically feed the family at home in the evening, that guy has no option. If yesterday he got 3 rand per kilogram for every kilogram of PET, and today, for whatever reason, that businessman tells him, I only give you 150, he cannot simply say, he has to sell because he has to empty his bag, so that he has an empty bag again tomorrow to start afresh, being upset that for whatever reason, he got just half the money yesterday compared to what he got the day before. Bevlen mentioned when he started the project, 5 rand, whatever, 50 per kg of transport costs. So transport costs is crucial, and that's why I believe we operate along the value chain in natural monopolies. That there is no option for him. That gentleman cannot at 5 o'clock in the evening just say, okay, I'm not going to sell, I'm going to walk 30 kilometers to find somebody else. So I think sustainable collaboration, which is, I think, conscious collaboration, transparent, and long-term minded collaboration, is really what we have to work towards. And that's why I'm going to give you a bit an overview about Alpla and the history, and going to tell you about a few things about the recycling plant that we're currently setting up. But I think the really interesting part, I hope, for you is the end of the presentation that is really from Bevlen's story and from Alpla's story, how we found each other, how Alpla and Repurposed Sustainable Solution found each other on their journey of having a common vision of working together in a collaborative way for many years to come. The Alpla, very briefly, so we basically are still family-owned business after plus minus 70 years. We, to our knowledge, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, 100% privately owned packaging company in the world. Austrian company based near the Lake Constance, founded by 2 brothers, Alvin and Helmut Lehner, in 1955. And Alpla stands for Alpenplastik. So if you take the Alps, obviously being the mountains, the central mountain chain in Europe, and plastic being plastic. So if you take the E and out, and then you leave the end out, that's how the name of Alpla was born. We now, you see Günther Lehner, that is the gentleman on the left at the bottom, and now Philipp Lehner, our current CEO, that took the helm, that is the 3rd generation CEO of Alpla. We have worldwide approximately 23,000 people. We are present in 190 production facilities in roughly 46 countries. 22 numbers was 5.1 billion euros turnover. You can see where you can find us on the globe. You can find us in principle on all the continents except Australia. Our market segment, our core business is rigid plastic packaging. This is where we grew over many years, and this is all the industries. Very likely the water bottle that you have on the table, the preform was made in our Lansira plant. Our journey in South Africa began in 2014. We set up an EBM extrusion blow molding plant in Kempton Park. we acquired a major competitor in 2017 called Boxmoor, and that had a pretty scattered footprint, and this is what then triggered Alpla to make a decision to build a big plant in Lansira, next to Lansira Airport, where we then consolidated 5 plants into that one plant, 4 from Gauteng and 1 from Harrismith. One of those failed municipalities that we briefly spoke about. You know how you recognize a sober driver in Harrismith? He's driving like that to avoid the potholes. That's the only way to keep your car safe on the main roads in Harrismith. And that brought me to South Africa, managing this project. And then my bosses asked me whether I wanted to stay longer in South Africa. And I said, I love the country. I was here for another company from 2014 until 2016. And that's why I then went with, from setting up the plant, the core business plant, to the recycling business. And when we look about recycling, I think we have seen this previously. We obviously produce rigid plastic packaging. And many years ago, we clearly understood, and that is now approximately 20 years ago, that with all the image, the bad image that plastic has, that recycling was one way that Alpla had to go to secure long-term its business and to get away with that bad image. And I'm always saying to people, never ever a plastic bottle decided to jump into a river or in the beach. So whenever we talk about all this huge island that is swimming somewhere in the Pacific or wherever, none of those plastic bottles landed there of their own will. It's us and other human beings that simply misbehaved for all that mess. So I think we clearly have to differentiate between the pollution side of it, which is really bad behavior, it's bad behavior of all of us, and the part of managing landfill and appropriate disposal, where clearly disposal in landfill is a legally possible solution that no longer is the best option available. And I'm not going to go through the timeline, but I think when you just read the years 2005, 10, 12, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, you can really see that since 2019, the recycling business from Alpla really got traction, and that's why Alpla decided to set up a PET bottle recycling plant in South Africa. And then here, obviously, the journey starts with how to find somebody, because as our core business, we have a Coke as a big customer for our preforms. So from that side, we have a sustainable partnership. We know how to set up recycling plants. We run approximately by now 10, 15 recycling plants on different countries. But it's really how do we get the material? And this is where the journey really started of Eugene Barnes, that some of you might know as one of the former directors of Boxmoor. After he retired, was given the task on a consulting base. What's the right strategy? Is there a way? What's the right location? What's the right partners? And the key element to that journey was really identifying the right in-feed partners, because we clearly knew the sales side. We have some understanding of how that's going to work with our preform production, with our customer base, Coke and other companies. We clearly know how to run an operation. We do that in many countries, but we obviously had no clue about the in-feed side. So we knew that to be able to, for our senior management, willing to commit the amount of money, and again, to answer a question, Michael, that you raised before on the panel, because it was officially announced when we announced the start of the building the plant in June 2023, and also at the President's Investors Conference in April 2023, Alpla is investing approximately 1 billion rand in that plant that we're currently setting up in Ballito. So that's the amount of money you need for a size of that plant that we're currently in the process of setting up. All that with a target that globally we want to be able to recycle globally 350,000 tons from a capacity point of view. Majority is rPET, so 266,000. Minorities 84,000. And you can see here at the bottom South Africa with a yellow rPET as an output capacity, in that case not 2023 but 2025, because by next year in principle we should be able to run that plant. All this part of Alpla's commitment to sustainability, to plastic recycling, to increase the share that in our core business we use on a yearly base of PCR, again whether PET or HDP. And you can see that from 5% in 2011 to 20% in 2023, how that grew, and that probably relates quite well to some of the collection rates I think we have seen from Junaid, if I'm not mistaken, when we think about his curve over the years from the PETCO numbers, how they grew on a South African base. In reality, that reflects the same global approach of Alpla, because this is the reflection of what is happening in our 180 plants globally. Important part that also was mentioned already today, and regular carbon footprint is a concern. I think Professor Botha mentioned that August 2024 was the hottest month recorded in human history. A big advantage of rPET is also that it substantially reduces the carbon footprint by not needing fossil fuel another time, but making sure that we have mechanical recycling that is much less energy friendly than than the virgin rPET. And that's exactly the part of the starting the journey, in the sense of, and I think the next one is the bet, no, that we have to go back, that the aggregation really has to go on the other side. So that was exactly the understanding. We have a clue about bottle sorting, washing, and flake, and all of that. We need a partner that really helps us to get the in-feed side right. Coming a few slides to our plant. So the groundbreaking of the plant was plus minus a bit more than a year ago. So it was on the 18th of August 2023. And then you can see a few pictures from the piling completed, the columns casted, before the yearly construction break, before December, all the way to the World Environmental Day that we celebrated on the 5th of June, where at the time we had 11 employees. So we planted one tree, and so that for every employee there was a tree planted. So it's not the 560 million in a day that were planted in Ethiopia, if I'm not mistaken, but at least it was a few plants that we started to build, to plant. That's an actual picture of the site, where on the right side you can see the N2 running north. So we're based in Balito, in an estate called North Point Estate. For those who know Balito, it's basically the second off-ramp, Shaka's head off-ramp. And if you continue on the highway, probably 500 meters after the off-ramp on the left side, you can see directly from the highway the plant. The plant is straightforward, structured in 3 elements. You can see the first part, that is a washing and sorting area. Then the one with the gray or dark roof is the extrusion SSP, and the lower one at the back is the finished goods warehouse. And here we now come to really to the collaboration. How do you understand whether that's the right partner for you? Our identities, as Alpla, we want to provide solutions for safe, affordable, and sustainable living worldwide. We believe that unbeknown, every day, probably somewhere around 2 to 3 billion people on a global scale come in touch with our products. Because you don't know that bottle or the preform was made from us. You don't know whether Stay Soft, if you go to a supermarket and you buy it, we make the bottle, obviously change in different countries. You don't know when you go into the shower and wash your hair that bottle is made from us. So every day we believe that between 2 and 3 billion people come in touch with an Alpla bottle in one way or the other, obviously not being aware of it. And those, I think, values or whatever you want to call it, I think is really the starting point on how you find each other. And the next slide is a slide that was created for internal purpose, that every one of our employees that joins in Balito sees as one of the first trainings, and it is about success as a team. And the question about how are we successful as a team? And at the end of the day, I think it's easy. It's about a me and a you, and it's about the brain, and it's about the heart. And that's what it is about. And when you think about it, we say that basically success as a team is straightforward, C to the force. Hopefully what I, you, Bevlen, we have all in our brain is our competence. Hopefully what each and every one of us has in their heart is their commitment. And that just makes only an individual performance. That all that it does, that does not make a team successful. And then there is the brain of the team, of one me with many yous, that is about coordination. And again, think about the picture that you have often seen about the brain with all these neurons connected in millions in all different ways. That is really, it's about coordination. So how do I make sure that my team that we're currently recruiting, those 90 people that will work to make that plant running, how are they properly coordinated? That is really the competence within the team. And then it's about the heart, that is the willing to cooperate. It's exactly the question, competition versus cooperation, that obviously has a complete different meaning, because within the company, if hopefully you manage to have a team that lives office politics by side, you can focus on cooperation. Clearly, between business partners, there is the competition part of every time you have to discuss about pricing. Every rand that I give you, I don't have, and every rand that I don't have to pay you, I keep and you don't get. So I think it's clear that that model is different in a business partnership than in an environment within a team, within an organization. But I think in essence, it's still applicable. And eventually, obviously, this individual performance times the collaboration being how well between the partners, between the teams, you manage the coordination and the cooperation, eventually going to give you the success as a team or in a sustainable collaborative business relationship. And from a competence point of view, we clearly understood that where we have no competence, that's where Bevlen and Repurpose Solution has the competence. Where we have competence, he doesn't have competence. So it was really nice to see that, we're a nice fit from a competence point of view. And then comes the critical part of coordination that is difficult. It's easy within a company in principle, because the management organizes and tells everybody that's your role and that's your targets. It becomes, again, more difficult in a business relationship, because there it becomes about strategy of the two companies. Does our strategy align with the strategy that Bevlen has had in his mind for Repurpose Solution? And these are, I think, the kind of discussions we had relatively early. These are the kind of discussions that were needed to really understand, from a competence point of view, your competence and our competence, they match. From a vision strategy point of view, do we fit together? And last but not least, the very critical part of the cooperation. From a values point of view, do we always agree? Obviously not. Do we fight every time that we talk about what's the prices for the next quarter on? Yes, we do, of course. But that does not mean that we have the same strategic long-term vision. We have the vision of wanting a sustainable long-term partnership, and that we openly discuss and fight our fights that we have to fight. and being critical without being confrontational. And I think that is what really was the starting point that then clearly developed and got more close and better, the better the partners know each other. And I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, and that, I think that's really the essence, what we learned from working together on this collaborative partnership, really with a long-term mind with a long-term vision in mind. What are key for that being possible? And I believe, and that's coming back, that in the industry, especially on the in-feed side, that is so critical, because I believe through the value chain, it is a series of natural monopolies. And that's not because Alpla wants to be a monopolist. That's why it starts with that guy that all depends on, that has no option at the end of his day to make his 150 or 180 or 200 rand to get that money to go home and feed his family. He has no alternative than that buyback center, and that's why it is so critical for us that we want to also through Bevlen promote that the partners that he's developing, those buyback centers that he's developing, that he wants to work with them on a long term. We're looking for, from the starting point, we're not interested in a buyback center that for whatever reason believes that he has the opportunity to take advantage for whatever reason for the picker today and tomorrow, and to in reality reduce the price for whatever reason. So we believe that part of that must be that everybody throughout the value chain has really that long-term strategic, sustainable, and collaborative approach in mind. And this is the partners that with Bevlen and with the buyback centers that he's working with and with the waste pickers, we're looking for, believing that we have the potential to create between 5,000 and 10,000 livelihoods in KZN, the neighboring countries, and throughout neighboring provinces, and in reality throughout the country, but clearly our focus will be KZN and the neighboring provinces. And we believe that we can make an impact on 10,000 livelihoods times their families, so 30,000, 40,000 people that hopefully will have a better living in the future thanks to Alpla deciding to spend 1 billion rand, obviously to make a business out of it long term. Thanks a lot.